Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. Today, we're going to be tackling the question, are modern comics too expensive? But before we get into that, I'm Rockin Robbie Billups. This is Rex. What's up, my man?
What's going on there, Robbie? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. I've had a great week. We had our great show over at the EXP on Monday. They finally designed me a specific thumbnail for our Monday show with me on it instead of AR Comics, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I tried to block that, the Dallas Cowboy thing, but it didn't work out too good for me.
Nah, man, I had a great time there. It's been a solid week. I've made it through my Bond journey. Tonight is the recording of our Bond cast. So we took like a winter hiatus in 2019 from the podcast, and we came back in March of 2020 with a Kevin Smith-centric podcast. We were like, we're back. And then the pandemic happened. And so this is our first podcast since then. So it's been a couple of years. So I'm really excited to get back into it. I've watched all these Bond movies, and anybody who's a part of the Patreon, patreon.com/PCP at the $5 level or up, you're going to be able to actually watch that live video recording of the podcast as it happens, and then after the fact, before the audio only version is released to the general public. So I'm really excited for this.
So we were on Wednesday's show with Alec. We were talking, and we have a new suggestion, perhaps, for your movie review show. So we were thinking, there's one of my boys, Jeff, who helps make all this happen for us. Hey, Jeff. So here's what we thought would make a great movie for you to review.
Okay.
My Blue Heaven with Steve Martin.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That had to be one of the sleepers of that year. I don't even know what year it came out, because it was right. I think somebody said it came out right after Goodfellas, and nobody thought Steve Martin was going to work.
Yeah,
in that role as a gangster, as a mafioso guy, and he just made it work. And the movie was, I think, who else was in it? Rick Moranis, I think. The movie was just hilarious. There's some classic lines in there. I'll never forget, the funniest line was when the cops come and they catch Steve Martin, his character, and they go through all the stuff he has in his car, and he has multiple copies of the same book, and they ask him, and they go, "Why do you have this many copies of this book?" And he sits there for a second. He goes, "Well, if I wanted to read it more than once." And the movie was just filled with classic lines like that. So I think it would be a great movie for you to review. So yeah, that's just my suggestion.
1990, Rick Moranis, Joan Cusack, Carol Kane. Fantastic cast there. I don't think I have seen that movie.
You should watch it.
Well, I don't think I've seen it since like video rental days in the early 90s.
Another one of the best lines is when the Rick Moranis character, the FBI agent, is escorting him back, and they get off the plane, and Steve Martin sees his big extended family, and they're all, whatever, and the character couldn't stop lying. Yeah. So he introduces Rick Moranis, didn't want to introduce him as an FBI agent, so introduces him as the inventor of the rotary engine, right? Yeah. I'll never forget that scene. One of his sisters looking, she goes, "You're Rankle?" Who was the inventor of the rotary engine. I just, from beginning to end, that movie was just hilarious. I think it would be a great movie for you to review.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, this last weekend, or this last couple days, we've got everything scheduled up all the way up to Horror Fest, which starts in September. So we got the full slate already, but we do have a PCP Army movie poll coming soon for April, in which people throw out movie suggestions. We put it all in a poll, people vote. I'm going to drop that on that poll. So
yeah, drop that in there. I think that would be a good one. I think it would be I found very little wrong with that movie, with very low expectations when I watched it, and it was just a belly laugher all the way through. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, one way or another, I will revisit it, whether it's on a PCP movie night or one of the movies review segments on Rockin Robbie Live, which does return, everybody, this Sunday night. So I want to remind everybody, of course, comment below in this video any of your thoughts on the topic or anything you want to say. Just throw a station or a hello or what's up, because that enters you to win a contest. We'll announce that winner on Monday. We'll announce the winner of the contest from Monday's show on this show later on at the end.
Be sure to check it out. So back to the topic at hand. Are are comic book prices getting too high? That's an interesting question that you pose there.
It is a good question, and I think the easy, obvious answer for fans, especially, yeah, like
Well,
right.
I would agree with it, but I mean, by the same token, though, if you ask anybody this question on almost any item, they're gonna say, "Yeah, prices are getting too high." I don't
At
think
any
you've ever
era, right?
of any
Like
era, exactly.
when
When
comics
went up to
first,
35 cents, yeah.
yeah, when they first, every time they jump, that's what's happening. But it just seems like the jumps are crazier, right? Like when I first started reading comics, I mean, I wasn't buying them myself; they were being given to me, but they were 75 cents, right?
Right.
And then they were $1. And I remember them being $1.25 when I was like going out saving lunch money and things like that, mowing yards to fund my comic book collecting hobby. And it just always seemed like it was a slow, steady increase. And now it just feels like out of nowhere, we got $10 comics, we got $8 comics, and they're on the regular basis. There's a recent incident with Marvel where they had an anniversary issue of Spider-Man. And it was an anniversary issue because of the relaunch number. It was like number 50 or something like that. Or I think it was the Legacy. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. There was a Legacy like milestone and there was a relaunch number milestone. So it was like 850 or 900 right next to like issue 50 or something like that. And they just so happen to be like back to back. So of course you get back to back anniversary issues that are like $8, $10. And it's ridiculous. And I think it's what concerns me about it is, and of course everything's going up. Like we just heard like what Netflix is going up to $20 a month, things like that. But man, $20 a month for all of that entertainment versus $20 a week for 3 or 4 comics seems pretty crazy. I don't know. What do you think about the whole trend of it? Like they've always increased, but
well, I think everything that you said is true. I think everything that you've noticed is true. But here's the problem, as I see it, is as what you're saying is correct. Is that within the last few years, the jumps seem to have accelerated in terms of pace. But with that in mind, we've also been 3 years in a pandemic, and we've seen supply chain issues all across the board. So, and obviously, if you watch the news, they tell you that inflationary pressures are getting out of hand. I think the Fed's going to raise the rates to try and cap the inflation, the inflationary pressure on the economy and stuff. But so some of it is legit. I think paper's hard to find. I think that the more recent events have kind of caused this acceleration of price, the price going up so continuously. I think the other problem that you're kind of looking at as well is that in terms of the printing industry, it's been suffering for a number of years. The printers themselves have been suffering for a number of years. And because the think about newspapers, think about it, any type of printed product is starting to go by the wayside. And that's largely because of books and things of that nature. And nobody reads a newspaper anymore. Nobody uses a phone book anymore. I remember when, you get a big hulking phone book, 2 big volumes dropped on your doorstep, the white pages and yellow pages. And then when my daughter was born, it got smaller and smaller and smaller, and I would get less and less. And then after a period of time, I don't know the last time anybody dropped a phone book, at my house.
Yeah.
Period. So
phone books are weird. I remember I used to look through phone books just to see new restaurants, right? But now the whole idea to have a book with everybody's number in your town there, like that's so foreign of a concept. Like I'm like I don't want anybody to know my number.
That's what's so weird. And what's so funny is that people can get your number now. The people that you don't want to call the cold calls and spam calls, they're finding your number anyway. I get calls sometimes from, I'm like, how in the world did you get my number? It's the weirdest thing, but you never. Yeah. It's actually probably now that you think about it, your phone number was more secure when it was buried in the pages and pages of the white page book, because nobody really had the patience to go look for your name printed and typed about this big, right?
Yeah.
Now you just run a search and it'll come up. It's actually easier now to obtain your phone number than it was then. But so I think that the shrinkage of the printing industry as a whole probably has had an effect, because what ends up happening is printing historically, being a printer historically was a very heavy investment and a very heavy overhead, because you got all this big hulking equipment, you need all this space, to print something.
Yeah.
So I think that we've now entered a period where demand is slightly exceeding the supply, because enough of these printers, when there were too many, they couldn't generate enough business. But that number is never going to be equal. So what I think is happening now is we're seeing enough, printing companies have gone out of business, that now the demand is exceeding that, which allows the existing printers to say, hey, you know what? I have so much business, I don't know what to do with it. And then some guy comes along and says, well, your normal rate is X. I'll pay you X plus one. Oh, you're willing to pay X plus one. Well, that'll move you up the line then. Then, the printer calls there, hey, listen, I got a dude willing to pay me X plus one, so I got to move him up, and then I think that kind of raises the price overall. So I really think you're looking at two things that may be causing this.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more recent thing being the pandemic, disrupting supply chains across the planet, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then the slow demise of the printing industry, as printers begin to just drop off, because they can't support it. They don't have enough business to go around. But I think that the problem is whether or not, and maybe the publishers are getting greedy, I don't know. But that certainly has always been the case in the past. But with the problem I think you're facing is that even if some of these financial pressures start to ease, so supply chains will eventually return back to normal. Eventually, I think the number of printers and and demand for them is going to kind of equalize a little bit more. I think the printing industry has changed as well. You don't necessarily need big hulking machines to print stuff. Technology has caught up, so I think that you can reduce maybe that labor end of it. But when was the last time you saw somebody lower their price? Once a price sticks and they know it's going to stick. Yeah. So let's say I need to raise the issue to $5 a copy retail. So to cover my costs and to make a reasonable profit. And let's say as a publisher, my financial pressures start to ease. My printer starts to lower prices and stuff. Am I going back?
Oh, exactly.
Am I coming off the 5? Probably not.
Yeah.
And that's really the dilemma there. And I think the danger of what you're talking about is where's that threshold, which then for the readers out there, as you say, you pay $20 for Netflix and you get all this content. You pay $20 of comic books at today's rates. How many books are they? Maybe in some cases 2, in some cases 4.
Yeah.
That's not a whole lot of content.
DC is doing a weekly series right now in Detective Comics. So Detective Comics has gone weekly, and it's $5 for the regular cover. If you get the cardstock variant, it's $6. But let's just say that you just get the cover A, $5. That's $20 right there, and you get 4 comics, 80 pages of story.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that what you're asking leads or opens up to another question that you and I have kind of danced around and discussed in the past. What happens? Does this eventually push the reader, and we've kind of touched on this topic, does that eventually push the reader to a digital version?
Yeah.
Because really, you're going to have a hard time as a publisher justifying at some point why a physical copy you're charging $8 for, the digital copy is also $8.
Yeah. Well, that's the retailers are the ones we're responsible for that, right? Because when digital started to come about, like digital comics, retailers freaked out and they were like, there's no way that it's not fair for us to have to push a $5 comic, but it's also available digitally for $1. And then we're not even talking about piracy now, that's a whole other problem that you just can't stop. Right. But so the retailers are the ones that made it so that they have to be day and date. If they're going to be released the same day, they're the same price. But to a fan, it's ridiculous to be like, I got to pay $5 for a digital comic and $5 for the printed. It doesn't make sense.
Well, this is why we've talked about it in the past, I think, Robbie, is that that formula is never going to hold. Okay. And the reason that formula is never going to hold is you have to take books as, although it's not a straight line apples to apples comparison, it is probably as close as you're going to get. And what ended up happening when books just pretty much wholesale moved to digital, the price went down. It didn't go up. Okay. So it becomes a different method of selling the same product. And what's actually happened is, because I know I joined Kindle way back, and I'm an Amazon Prime member, right? So Amazon, being very smart, linked the two together. Yeah. So with my Amazon Prime subscription, so I can get my stuff shipped fast or cheaper or whatever the case may be, and I get to watch the TV shows, I also get free books all the time, right? So if you're a Kindle member, you get a number of free books. I forget what the number is, and when you're done reading them, if you want more books, you have to you have to return books that you're not reading. And then I'm constantly browsing the 99-cent Kindle, call it what you want, the dollar box, if you will, and looking for free ones, because now I'm motivated to try a new author that I never read before, maybe, a new sci-fi series that I've never read before. Why? Because I'm not dumping $4.99 or $8.99 to buy a paperback. I'm not laying out close to $9 to take a chance at, I get midway through the book and go, oh, well, this really stinks. Yeah. I can't, this is like chewing glass. I can't get through this. But if the book's free, I get through that. I'm like, this stinks. I can't get through this. Okay. I just delete it, give it back to Kindle. Yeah. So that becomes the interesting question, isn't it? Where does it help? Does it hurt? I realize the LCS's issue, though. Yeah. So how? Because if digital comics really takes off like books have, where does that leave the LCS? It sells something physical. Yeah. That I don't have the answer to. You look at Barnes & Noble, you look at Borders, you look at, when was the last time you've been in a large bookstore? I'll be honest with you. The last time I was in a bookstore was in Manhattan. It was a Barnes & Noble, and I forget. Oh, my daughter was with me. We went. There was this Amex party that we were going to, and we got there a little too early, so we need to kill some time. And it was kind of cold out, and we went to Barnes & Noble because they had a coffee shop, and it was right across the street from where the event was supposed to be. So we went in there and hung out for like 20, 30 minutes. I browsed around a little bit, but my daughter just sat there on her phone the whole time, drinking her hot chocolate. I mean, we didn't buy anything, other than the coffee, obviously. Yeah. And then out we walked. They were kind of busy, but that's Manhattan too. Manhattan's always busy. But I don't know. You're not going to really support too many bookstores here, and it's really changing the face of it. So the question really becomes, at what point do the fans, the readers, start to clamor and demand because the prices on the books are getting a little too high? Yeah. And they'll say, well, why can't, you guys make the digital version cheaper? It doesn't cost you nothing. And it's true. It costs you a great deal less. All you got to do is download it from a site. The information's there. Yeah. And the book is there. So that really, your cost of printing and moving and shipping, it's not there. Yeah. So how do you justify, and you can say you're protecting the LCS, but there becomes the problem. At what point do the readers start turning on the LCSs? Yeah, right. And
one of the things that is interesting is when the prices go up, it's not usually the publishers. I mean, the publishers will take a lot of flack from the fans and the community, right? But when the prices start going up, the LCSs are in danger of maybe having people drop some books from their pool, or most customers, they don't care about the supply chain issues. They don't care about the cost of printing. They don't care about the cost of talent. They don't care about what the retailer's having to figure out when he's ordering his books and he doesn't know how many people want what or what covers he's going to be able to sell the best. I mean, and over time, a good retailer learns this kind of stuff, but customers don't care about that. They just want their books and they want them for a reasonable price, and they don't want them to go too crazy. As far as the digital thing, I think it's the model. I think DC and Marvel both do this, where they have their own streaming services in a way. You could call it that in a way, but they have their digital, Marvel Unlimited and the DC's Infinite, whatever it is. And you pay a monthly fee and you have access to this giant catalog of digital content. And the new stuff, I know at least at Marvel, and I think DC does the same thing, pops in there 6 months later. So it gives you a 6-month window, because that's a pretty good window for new comics until they really officially kind of, you can consider them back stock and back issues, right? There's not much time for a new comic to sit on the shelf because the next one's coming. You know what I'm saying? So I like that idea to have the digital, like that, to make the digital price work. That makes sense to me. To have a flat fee, you pay monthly, you have access to a giant digital catalog. I think Marvel and DC, what I've heard, because I don't really read a lot digitally, from what I've heard, they could do a better job of having more content there and not just like selected little bits, but even like being like an Amazon Prime member or having the Comixology, and they're dealing with their own weirdness with that. They're trying to merge the Comixology website into Amazon, and it's not quite working out. But even there's tons of content that you can get for free just by being a member, right? What I'm concerned with is I've got people at my shop who straight up said, if any of my pull list goes above $3.99, drop me off the book. I don't want it, right? So that's happened. Like, we got customers that are like, they maintain their pull list, so they're all $3.99 and down books. And $3.99, I think, is a really solid, accepted price point for the average comic book right now, right? And then DC starts doing the $4.99, but we're going to give you 8 more pages that some people maybe necessarily don't want. So you're paying more for content that you like less than you used to like. And it's driving, I think, a lot of people being like, you know, instead of spending $5-10 or $20 on these books this week, I think I'm just going to buy one of these back issues I wanted. I'm going to save up and get a key, or I'm going to just go back and recollect Mark Grunwald's Captain America run or something like that. Like, I'm doing that with the Peter David Hulk stuff, and I'm finding almost more enjoyment diving deep into the old stuff I used to love from DC and Marvel than necessarily reading their new stuff. That being said, other publishers are giving me content that I really like and at better prices. But then you have Aftershock is starting to creep their books up to $4.99, right? But then you got over at Image, where most of their books are $3.99, or they'll have, you know, and I don't mind paying extra for extra content that I want. You know what I'm saying? Like if you do a Red Sonja special and it's got more pages and it's $5, like, I'm totally cool with stuff like that, right? But like Spawn, Todd McFarlane's able to keep his books at $2.99. Saga is keeping it at $2.99, even when it releases like a 60-page comic. So it can be done if the model works around it to keep a price kind of where they're at. But what is also concerning, like you said, once we prove that we'll pay a certain amount for something, they ain't going to drop that down. You know what I'm saying? Like, DC, I'm sorry, we're not going to get a Batman book that's below $5 anymore, because we've proven that we'll keep buying Batman, whether it's $5, $6, $8, $10, $12, $15.
I guess there's another aspect to this is, you know, and this is a really important question, is that at some point something critical is going to happen for the physical books to stay around, and somewhere it has, the hobby itself has to decide, you know, where they're at. Otherwise, your LCS will truly be reduced to selling back issues. Okay, and those back issues, graded issues, golden age, silver age, whatever, and they're going to move from more of the current business to more of a, for lack of a better word, antique business, selling stuff that happened, you know, a long time ago, and I'm looking for that silver age Batman or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And so how do you resolve the problem with the LCS? Now, maybe you could, everything is done in tandem, okay? Meaning that you have an issue, whatever it may be, and you're releasing it, and you have a digital version of it, and then you have the variant versions, you know, variant cover versions that go out to the LCSs. So at that point, you get to see, you know, are people collecting the physical books because they look at them as a part of a collection? Are they readers? Because my concern is that the readers will eventually shift over to digital. If they're really not caring about collecting the book itself, they really pick it up because they want to read it, then that makes that, you know, then why not switch to digital? It's more convenient. You can be waiting to catch a train to go to work in the morning and just pop out your comic and start reading it.
Yeah, look at the
You
way
don't want to bring it on a
manga.
subway with it because you may want to keep it in near mint condition, and you don't want to jostle it in the subway and open it up and drop it on the ground, and God knows what's on the ground of New York City subways. I mean, the number of potential germs there, it probably reaches the millions. Do you want to do that? No. But you can just pull it up on your phone or your Kindle reader or whatever the case may be, and read it that way.
Yeah. And that's similar to the way manga is consumed mostly, like a lot in Japan. Like a lot of it is digital, and you have these apps. I don't remember which one it is, but one of the manga companies, it's like $1 or $2 a month, and you have access to everything. And people fly through it and they love it. And a lot of those people come into the shop, you're like, man, I got this app. I love this book. Do you have them? Because now I want them. And readers turn into collectors. And we need to do that and not go the backwards way, right?
Right. That is actually a very good example. Can you turn the readers into a physical collector? I don't know the answer, but it seems like it's working for manga. But let's look at the positive side of this that I've certainly seen. And again, I use books as an example, not comic books, but regular books as an example, mainly because I think it's the closer you're going to get in terms of comparison. What I see is positive of comic books turning into a digital age. Now, how you market it, maybe Batman fans could subscribe to the Batman program, and you only have Batman titles available to you for a monthly fee, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I think that it will increase readership, just as you said with manga, with the potential of turning them into collectors. But I think from a creative end, it's a good thing. Okay. It's going to really open up the creativity and the ability to reach the readers. Because if you have a monthly subscription, a flat price that you pay, you have access to certain comics. And this is my example with books. Before I really shifted over to Kindle, I would go to a bookstore, and as I said, it would be very rare that I would take a chance on, an unknown author. And you read the back, you read the intro, and it's like, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. You're not gonna really learn anything within the first paragraph or even the first chapter, right?
Yeah.
So at $8.99 a pop, at that point, $12.99 in some cases for paperbacks. It was prior to Kindle. I mean, they were really gouging everybody. And prior to Kindle, I wouldn't necessarily be willing to make that investment. But now with Kindle, okay, and the options that I have and the free books that they offer, I'm willing to take that gamble.
Yeah.
And if it goes well, and there have been a couple that I never would have picked up. I never even heard of these writers, and they were writing, space operas, and I picked it up and I start reading it, and I'm like, this is not bad. It's good enough to read 2, right? And then I would read number 2, and then for a few of these, I would get all the way through the series of books. Because it captured me. Again, there are books I couldn't make it halfway without feeling like I was chewing on broken glass. But all of a sudden, I'm willing to experiment. What can that do for new titles and creators out there that can't seem to get themselves on the map? Not because their stories aren't engaging or their art isn't excellent, but just because the publisher or whomever is distributing is not pushing that title because nobody knows about this. It's not Batman. It's not Superman. It's not Spider-Man. All right, we'll publish it, but we're not really going to invest any promotional dollars into your project here. Where this just allows, in a very strange sense, the collector, the reader themselves, to kind of do their own shopping. All right, and it's look at this. This looks interesting. Like I know for you, Robbie, an unheard of creator, unheard of title, and happens to be horror based. I know that if you had that option of having a monthly fee and you're flipping through and you see one, I think you probably take a chance.
Yeah.
Okay? You download that book, you read it, okay, then come to your determination. Oh, this stinks, or wow, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing with like a movie. Like, I have Netflix. Exactly. Hey, I just saw they just showed me a trailer for this. It looks cool. Yes. I'll check it out. Not something you would have gone to Walmart or Best Buy and bought a Blu-ray set for.
Right,
but
exactly.
You get the chance to watch.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I think overall there can be a very positive effect to this in that it will open the door for more creators. It'll open the door for more readers to discover those creators, and which can expand the industry as a whole. And if it follows the manga example, they're converting over and becoming collectors because they're like, wow, this is great. I got to get the books. But ultimately, I think the danger is for the LCSs, because no matter how you slice that pie, when you talk about how it could eventually turn out, there's no way that the LCS can get a piece of this pie. I don't see how they can, and that's the true danger of it, So I'm not sure how that would work. And of course, we don't want to see the LCSs disappear, because they do provide a unique experience to a lot of readers, going to the store, being at the store, that type of thing. Yeah. But that is dangerous. I mean, we're at that time. I think that when it happened to books, everybody was very nervous about what was going to happen with comics. And then somehow it didn't happen that way. It kind of stalled. But I think inevitably it was always on the horizon. We just didn't know when. And I kind of feel like now we're entering the when. And it's going to become a major issue over the next several years as to how this ends up resolving itself, because the traditional reader, buyer, LCS, publisher, distributor relationship is going to shift. Yeah. I mean, and we haven't, I know we're getting deep on time, but we haven't even talked about what that does to distributors. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, Marvel and DC can literally, they're their own distributors.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance to this, man. And, I think we've seen similar shifts in things. Like if we look at the music industry, I think we can see some stuff there, because, it was always physical media with music, right? You went out and you bought your tapes or your records or your CDs or whatever. Then eventually that's all digital. And like some people don't even why do I need a music service? I listen to music on YouTube. I'm on Spotify, and you got all this stuff, but you still got people that spend lots of money going back, diving into record shops, getting old vinyls, buying new reissues of vinyl and deluxe editions. And that's another thing I love. Like if you look at the Marvel omnibuses, and I do have people that complain about modern comic prices, no problem dropping $100, $150 on a giant omnibus, because there's something deluxe and collectible about it. And like maybe, those kind of things are really cool. So there's a lot of things. I guess the basic answer to the question is, yeah, everything's a little too expensive, but there's more nuance to the comic book side of things, and trying to figure out where we are, where we've been, and where we're going to go.
Well, I hope that the music example, I hope that the LCSs do not end up down that route, because that was devastating. Because you watch Tower Records, all these big music stores just start to disappear. They just went belly up, and now I can tell you, there's a town near us with a flea market that opens every Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. I used to go there and get my hair cut and stuff. And there is a little shop there that has vinyl, cassettes. I think I even saw some 8-track in that dude's place, and CDs, believe it or not. He's one store. It looks like an antique shop, smells like an antique shop. I hope that's not the direction, but I think that ultimately comics is always going to be a little bit different, just like with books. With books, it's the words, the content. I don't care how it's delivered. Okay. Yeah. And, but it's cheaper and more economical, and the ability to take it on a plane without having to carry all these paperback books. Yeah. The whole reason paperbacks were invented, gave me the ability to switch over. Music, very much the same way. I didn't care about the vinyl records themselves. Cassette tapes didn't really, they were much better because they were portable, but quality and use and wear. Yeah. CDs, what a pain to try and be in a car and switch CDs out. Yeah.
Everybody had their 9-disc changers.
Right. Or you load all your CDs in a big CD holder in the trunk, and it would play that way. Yeah. So it made, but for comics, I feel like, some people collect vinyl, but you play the vinyl. I don't know the last time you heard a vinyl record. It's like watching sports from the 80s, the camera angle. I'm watching NFL films. I'm like, why don't they close in? Oh, that's right. In the 1980s, they didn't have that suspended camera in the air on the field, with those wires that could come right underneath the guy.
Yeah, and you're like, somebody turned the tint down. It's so freaking fuzzy.
Yeah, right. The quality of playback is just so poor on the vinyls. Now I notice it now, but I didn't notice it then.
Well, some people say that it's better. Like some people like that sound, right? And it's for instance, to equate that with comic books, like I have read old school stuff digitally and I've read it reprinted. And I have been talking about this for a while now that I prefer a lot of this stuff on newsprint, like the way, because it was colored for newsprint. The colors sometimes when they're reproduced, they're very poppy, but it's kind of almost garish. But when you go back and look at, say, Frank Miller's Daredevil in its omnibus form, and then look at how the colors produced on the newsprint, it's way different, right? But that's like a tactile sensory thing where you could say like, well, the digital one is cleaner, it's brighter, it's more true to what, color was put on there. But just like with music, they used to produce music and they used to produce comics for the medium itself, for the record. They would make music knowing what it would sound like on record and the tricks that they would need to do to produce what they wanted. Same thing with the comics, right? So there's all kinds of weird stuff going on with all of us weird collectible type people, right?
I think we're at that point now. I mean, though, I think that we're at that point where there's going to be some sort of seismic shift. Where it's shifting to, I don't know. I mean, it's. I certainly didn't foresee the way that things, turned with music, with books, with a lot of things.
Yeah.
But if the vast majority of people, the vast majority of people that listen to music, like it to be digital and the clean, uninterrupted sound.
Yeah.
The books, it's so weird. It's I guess comics is kind of like books and music combined, because there's an appreciation for the art of it, but then there's also the issue of the content itself. Yeah. You open up a can of worms with this one, my friend. You need 3 hours, not 30 minutes to cover this topic.
All right. We'll call it there then, Rex, for now. And we'll let the conversation continue in the comments. So drop a comment. What do you think about the topic? You'll be entered to win the contest on Monday's show. Let's go ahead and draw the winner from this last Monday's show. How about that?
Oh, I gotta get a prize here. Hold on. I just realized. All right, you draw the winner. I'm gonna go grab the prize.
All right. While Rex is grabbing the prize, let me go ahead and break it down yet again. We got the show over at the Experience, the EXP. There's a link in the description below. Every Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern time for 2 hours. I'm there with Rex, sometimes John from Dynamic Forces, Dynamite Entertainment. They got lots of great collectibles available for sale. We do best offers. We do claims. It's really cool. Modern comics, classic comics, CGC comics, CCAs, which are commission cover art sketches, really great stuff. So check us out over at the Experience. That's going to be Monday night, 6 p.m. Central Time. Comment below. You'll be entered to win a contest. I'll announce the winner from these comments here on Monday night show. And if you participated in Monday's show, you got entered to win automatically whatever prize Rex has grabbed. And the winner is...
Who's the winner?
Dwayne's a Pain.
Dwayne's a Pain. Cool. All right. So hopefully... not focusing. Oh, wait.
There it is. What is that there?
All right. This is a 45th anniversary Red Sonja. It was a Kickstarter exclusive card that we're going to give away. It is a Jusko Sonja sketch. It's not a sketch card though, but it was part of a set of 3 cards, and this is number 2 of 3. So let's see.
Very nice.
Yeah, so this is a nice card. So it is a reproduction of the Jusko sketch, and this will be today's winner.
All right, Dwayne's a Pain got it. So congrats.
Right, Dwayne's a Pain, excellent. So we will get it out to Dwayne. And you know what? We should probably cover this topic a little bit more on Monday night show.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody will have some stuff to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but it should be interesting to see how things develop.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, join us Monday night over at the Experience for the Comic Collectibles with Rex and John and Rockin Robbie show. And of course, join us tonight over at patreon.com/PCP, where you can stream the live recording of the Bondcast, Dylan's Horror Show tomorrow night. We're going to be talking about the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre requel that just dropped today. I'm about to go watch it. Not looking forward to it, but we'll see what happens. Sunday night, Rockin Robbie Live. Monday night, the Experience. And then right after that, PCP Movie Night, Weird Science. Rex, it's always been a pleasure. Always a pleasure
Robbie,
to have you.
I just want to encourage everybody to check out the Bond stream. because I will tell you, Rockin Robbie has been working very hard on this, watching every single one of them.
Everyone
Okay?
is
Not watching anything else, not Book of Boba Fett, not nothing. He's just been watching Bond movies endlessly.
Yeah, I'm really excited to check out Peacemaker, especially now that the Bond stuff's over. Real quick, what's your favorite Bond film, Rex?
My favorite Bond film, I'm going to have to say, is probably going to still have to be Dr. No when he's introduced.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I go way back. My mom was a huge Bond fan. So I would say Sean Connery and Dr. No was still probably one of my most favorite ones. Thunderball was pretty good, but I'm a Sean Connery Bond fan. Not that I didn't watch the other movies or enjoy them. They were all good for different reasons. I even have, after speaking to you, I even have a new respect for the George Lazenby, Her Majesty's Secret Service
Good.
book placeholder character. I think they try to go too far too fast, with that movie and move directions a little too kind of too hard a left there. But I even have a new appreciation for that particular film. That was the one I hated the most at first.
Oh, awesome.
But now, the worst one though has got to be Octopussy. I'm sorry.
I agree 100%. I think that's the worst one. Like 100%.
Roger Moore was doing it for the money and the money only, baby. That was it. He was doing it for the check.
That one's pretty bad.
Yeah, he was so done.
All right, we're out, y'all. Thank you, Rex. We'll see you guys next time. Station.